Hello everyone, good evening. We hope you guys are all doing well. You're looking good on the screen today, so it's good to see you all as usual. All right, lovely. Now we're going to carry on with our third semester, the young group. This is our second lesson. As you know, once we finish the semester, we're going to be getting into the groups where we can actually actively study the wisdom of Kabbalah day to day, or however you like, once a week, once a month, or every day. It doesn't matter. You guys can pick how you want to study. But before we get into a group, we have to know how to interact with the group. So last week we started, and what we did was we learned the internal rules of a workshop, right? The 6 internal rules to make a workshop an effective tool. And today we're going to learn the 6 external rules to make the workshop an effective tool. But before we start, why don't we prepare ourselves in our intention and our thoughts by reading a short passage from a book called A Sage's Fruit. It's volume 2, Essays of Baal Sulam. So let's read a short text so we can kind of direct our thoughts and intentions. Now it's always good, actually, just so that you guys know, that before you start a lesson, it's good to read something from the Kabbalistic texts so that you can, really inside start thinking about why you're here, what you want to do, what you want to attain, and so on. Otherwise, just coming and listening is not really directed. It's also good, but being directed adds an extra emphasis on the study. So let's see what they say. On page 55, there's a short text I'd like to read. A general force and a practical force. And a particular force, a general force and a particular force. Their uniqueness is the unity of the Creator and the divinity. A particular force is the prohibition on reception down to the lowest degree, and the general force is multiplication of bestowal to complete dedication with all of one's heart. So let's read that again. Sounds a little complicated, but it's nothing you haven't learned before. It's just something we learned in different words. A general force and a particular force. Their uniqueness is the unity of the Creator and divinity. A particular force is the prohibition on reception down to the lowest degree. And the general force is multiplication of bestowal to complete dedication with all of one's heart. So in other words, there are 2 forces. The particular force, which is the individual's desire to receive for oneself, and there's the general force of nature, which is the Creator. So our particular nature of wanting to receive for ourselves is always restricted. This is why no matter what we do to get pleasure in this life, we never get it. Okay, it always, pleasure always disappears. Even if we get what we want, it's crazy. You can chase everything you want. You can be the king of the planet. And I assure you and guarantee you that you will still not be happy. Because no matter what you get in life, the desire and the fulfillment, the pleasure, cancel each other out. So this is our life during our stay on the planet. However, if we have a dot in the heart, we can actually elevate beyond our nature, and then we can actually really come to a state of existing in adhesion with that general force of nature known as the Creator, and then we can really start to get fulfillment from being like the Creator rather than being stuck in the swamp. Right then. Now, last week, like I said, we did the 6 internal rules to make the workshop an effective tool. We're going to do 6 external rules to make the workshop an effective tool. Then we're going to go over it one more time. If you have any questions, let us know. Okay, so I'm going to read. Remember, this book is not on our website, so you got to take notes. Okay, so if you don't have a pen and paper, try to get a pen and paper, or listen to the lesson again afterwards on YouTube, because this book is not available. All right, so you got to make sure you get these rules down, because this is how we make a workshop happen. Very important. The rules of the workshop are very important because the rules make it successful. Right then, 6 external rules to make the workshop an effective tool. 1. We do not speak of ourselves, our families, or incidents from our lives. Rather, we try to speak from a level of unity among us, above faces, bodies, and mundane life. Alright, so it's very important. When we're in a workshop, we don't talk about ourselves or our families and so on. What we try to do is we want to try to talk from a level in which we're all connected. Okay, we want to talk from an understanding which we can all relate to. So we never get it personal on there. Alright, it's a very important rule. The second rule is we speak briefly, concisely, clearly, and to the point. Now imagine one of us was talking for hours in a workshop. Okay, the rest of the guys would probably fall asleep, and that wouldn't make the workshop very effective. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to make sure we make it short and sweet. Okay, so a nice talkative session is about 20-30 seconds. We want to give a few sentences regarding the solution of the problem that we're dealing with. And within that 15-20 second round, we want to talk from the heart, from our feelings that we get from the circle, and just bring it out. So this is very important. Okay, so the more you talk, sometimes people just can't stop talking, and that's and it's natural because we want everyone to listen to us. But when it comes to listening to others, it's very difficult. So we have to understand that we've got to be short and sweet, and to the point, concise and clear. All right, it's a very important rule. Now, rule number 3. We listen to each friend attentively and we show it. Okay, sometimes people listen to others and they start playing around with this little thing. Okay, it's not very nice. Okay, so we can't have a workshop if one of the guys is going like this while the other one's talking. No. Okay, so we have to focus on whoever is talking. It's very important. We have to focus on the friend, we have to listen to him, and we have to make everybody else in the circle feel, see that we're listening to the friend. Listening is a very important tool we must develop if we want to develop communication. So, another very important thing. Rule number 3 was we listen to each friend attentively and we show it. Rule number 4. We do not criticize, argue, disparage, or engage in personal dialogues with any one participant. Alright, so I can't pick an argument with someone. I can't tell somebody that they're wrong and they don't know what they're talking about. I can't tell anyone that they're just talking nonsense. Everybody talks according to how they feel is true from their perspective. And even though their perspective may appear to me, in my eyes, as silly, that's just the creator showing me that I'm a very silly person. Okay? And not my friend is silly. I am silly. Alright? So we have to understand the perception of reality from term 1 is all in my head. So there's no need to argue or criticize or have some kind of a negative dialogue with someone simply because we don't agree. It's irrelevant. According to the perception of the reality, the person outside of me is only a reflection of my inner qualities. And since there is the principle, there's none else besides the creator, and he is pulling everybody's strings, he is actually using the friends to talk to me. Isn't that great? So I should listen, shouldn't I? I mean, if the creator is talking, I better open up my ears. This is why listening to the friends is so important, because at the end of the day, actually, it's the creator talking to you. And you can pick up a lot of stuff from your friends. Like the Kabbalists say, I've learned a lot from my teachers. I've learned so much more from my friends. Okay, it's a very important rule. Rule number 5. It is important that everyone expresses him or herself when the turn arrives, even with a few words. So everyone has to participate. That's what this rule is all about. Nobody skips. Nobody says, I've got nothing to say. Nobody says, I'm not talking. Nobody says, I'm not participating. Okay, it's just not right. Why it's not right? Because we're trying to develop, and if you don't contribute, we're not going to develop. Not to mention, you're not going to develop either. And because you're not developing, the rest of the friends also can't develop. Remember, spirituality is a group thing. We can only develop by getting intellectual and emotional feedback from our group. And if we don't get that, and if our friend is not contributing towards that, our friend is actually stealing from the development of the group. You see, in spirituality, stealing means I don't contribute when I can. That's called stealing. In our world, we steal somebody else's, items or goods and assets or whatever. But in spirituality, stealing has a very different meaning, because spirituality is bestowal. So if I'm not bestowing when I have an opportunity to bestow, it means I'm a thief. Okay, so the last thing we want to be is a thief in the group. So everyone must contribute. And the last rule, rule number 6. The workshop is an attack. Therefore, we must avoid anything that might deflect us from the campaign. We switch off electronic devices, refrain from getting up or leaving the 10 or joining it. The inner space that has formed during the workshop is sacred. We must guard it with all our hearts. So we're going to be inside a virtual environment when we're doing this. So we must not have these on. These got to be off. Okay? We cannot, if you've got a few screens in the house, you can't have Facebook on, YouTube on, watching a movie and doing a workshop with the friends. Okay, it's just not worth doing it, is it? So what we have to do is really focus. Once we're in a workshop, we have to really focus, and we really need to be inside there. We need to be with the friends. This is a specific time when I can have a lot of input from the friends inside that circle to start completing that jigsaw puzzle inside of me called spirituality. It's very, very important. So these 6 rules are very important. Any questions up to now?
Let's see here. We had one earlier, just in regards. It was from Emmanuel, just in regards to the last lesson. But we can talk about that
later. Okay, so you keep an eye on all the questions. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know.
Oh wait, and Melanie wants to confirm. Hi, I just want to confirm how many young groups we are supposed to participate.
Well, young group is just 10 lessons, and this is our second one, so we've got 8 more. And then afterwards, we're going to have to go into our groups if we want to carry on studying Kabbalah. Because Kabbalah, just like I said a minute ago, is a group thing. It's like having a family, You can't have a family on your own, unless you want to get married to yourself, which I have heard, by the way, that it's becoming legal to get married to yourself.
I was thinking about doing that, actually.
Yeah, okay, well,
that's another story. We'll talk about it later.
It's not very helpful for your development, is it?
Probably not.
Okay, so what we have to do is to make sure that the whole society, the whole group participates in some way in our spiritual development. So after we finish the young group, we're all going to be allocated to our groups according to our countries and or the locations that we live in. So if you live in Europe, there'll be groups in the UK or France or wherever you are, Romania, Bulgaria. If you're in Africa, we've got a lovely African group. And What else do we have? And if you're from a place where there is nobody, okay, nobody around, don't worry. If you want to study, we'll take you and we'll put you somewhere where you can develop. All right? Okay, Mohammed. So don't worry. I'm not sure if there's anybody in Beirut or Lebanon. Okay, I don't think so. However, don't you worry, mate. We'll have a place for everyone. Okay?
We got you fixed up, man.
Yeah, we'll probably put you in Africa. This place was Africa before all the continental drifts and stuff. So don't you worry. Okay. If you spoke Turkish, I would have put you in the Turkish group. But since you speak English, we're going to put you in Africa. All right.
Hey, Mel's asking, is there one that's ongoing that's supposed to go for like 6 months or some graduate school?
There is a longer young group, okay, which is which they do here physically in Israel. That goes for about 6 months, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Your young group here, yeah. But that's a physical campus which they do here, and they have meals and so on together. So, which also we're going to have too. We're also going to have a meal, okay? Our 5th lesson is going to be a meal together, and we're going to learn what it means to eat with the friends. So our 5th lesson is going to be a virtual meal. So you must not have dinner, okay? Because we're going to eat together. All right? Our 5th lesson. So write it down on your calendar. It's a date. Okay? It's a date with me and Anthony. This must be your lucky evening. All right then.
I'm a good date.
Okay.
Hey, Yudit says, just for Muhammad, that there are some friends in Lebanon, and a lot of them are connected to the French group.
Oh, there you go. There you go, Mohammed. So, do you speak French? You don't speak.
No.
Okay, don't worry. Relax. We got you covered in Africa. You'll love the Africans. I love them. Okay, great. So let's do this. These are the 6 external rules. We're going to go over the internal rules again, okay? And then we'll go over the external rules again, and we'll wrap it up. And then next week we're going to start our workshop, okay? And we have some friends actually who are going to moderate the workshops. Can you guys wave, the moderators? Okay, there you go. There are our friends who are waving, and they're going to be moderating. So we're going to split up into groups, and we're going to have separate groups to do a workshop, and they'll be moderating. So let's go over these 6 rules again. 6 internal rules. Actually, let's start from the beginning, and let's talk about what a workshop is. Right? So we'll take it from the beginning, and we'll do it in a nutshell because we already did this. Now, a workshop is a way of communicating with our group members in order to resolve a spiritual query, so that from everybody's contribution we may resolve a matter which we feel internally. All right? It's not an intellectual exercise, because we are sensual creatures. We are creatures made of sensation. We are feeling creatures. So we are emotional creatures. In order for us to develop, we must first feel something, so that our mind can then work on bringing that feeling into some kind of a meaning. So if we have just an intellectual study, we'll be lacking the sensation and the feeling. In order for us to have a lot of feeling in our spiritual study, there needs to be a lot of interaction. So the interactions between us give us emotional feedback. They can be positive feedback, negative feedback. We might feel great, we might feel really lousy. It doesn't matter what the feedback brings me. What it should do, though, it should ignite emotions in me. Whether they're good emotions or bad emotions are irrelevant, because according to the good and bad feelings, I can direct myself. So the feedback isn't always necessarily a good feedback, and it doesn't have to be. Okay, but what needs to happen if we want to advance in spirituality, we need to be on this emotional roller coaster. We have to feel, and that will make us richer in our inner senses. And then we're going to use the texts to bring meaning to the sensations we're going through, and use those meanings in our spiritual development to overcome states, or to evaluate states deeper so we can progress. Okay? Sometimes because people think spiritual feedback should take me to some land up there in the clouds and I should all feel great, like I'm on a buzz 24/7. Okay? Spirituality is not being on a buzz 24/7. Spirituality is understanding the thought of the Creator, understanding the whole of reality. And when I'm talking about understanding, I'm talking about an emotional, sensational understanding with intellectual backup. And that intellectual backup should give us the reason why the Creator did something to ignite that feeling and emotion in me. So it's all hand in hand. All right? So the workshop is going to be a way where we're like in a circle, and all of us are going to be around that circle, and we're going to talk one by one. And whoever starts talking, let's call this person number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It could be more than 7, it could be 10, it could be 12, it doesn't matter. Whoever starts talking, the person on the right carries on and adds to the person who spoke. And everybody adds to the topic. And then at the end of that round, what we should have is a conclusion in the center of the group, which is the sum of all our contributions in feeling and in understanding together. So this here is, let's actually do this. This should be a sum in feeling and understanding. Understand. All right? We could do 1 round, we could do 2 rounds, we could do 3 rounds, it doesn't matter. But we have a query, we have a question, we want to resolve it, and we do it together. And everybody's contribution, when everybody contributes and everybody tries to resolve this issue, then we'll come to the correct solution. In life, it is almost impossible to get the right answer to anything on your own. However, if you have, instead of just your mind, instead of just your mind, okay, if you have the mind of 7 other people, then all of a sudden you become, let's do this, you become 1/7. Okay, you get the power of 7 people. So that's very good. And that's what a round kind of table, round workshop environment looks like. So let's go over the 6 internal rules again, as we did last week. And if you have questions, we'll clarify everything this week. Next week, we're going to read an article, and then we're going to do a workshop. So make sure you guys are with me on this. 6 internal rules to make the workshop an effective tool. Internal means that in my emotional approach to the situation. 1, seeing the love. Now, last week we said the titles were a little, airy-fairy. However, as you move forward in spirituality, you'll begin to know what seeing the love actually is. So rule number 1, seeing the love. My effort to see in the rest of the participants the desire to discover the Creator, and my own contribution to enhance it in the circle, evoke among us the feeling of a raspberry ball. This is a special feeling of warmth, confidence, pleasantness, softness, and love, which illuminates just like a warm raspberry colored ball. The relations among the participants become closer and more intimate, and a feeling that no problem is unsolvable in the circle is formed. Let's read that again. My effort to see the rest of the participants. My effort to see the rest of the participants, the desire to discover the Creator, and my own contribution to enhance it in the circle. So what I have to do is, in an emotional and intellectual way, I have to give my desire for it. Anybody ever heard of the saying, you don't get what you want, you get what you desire in life? Anybody heard of that? Okay, you heard it from me now. You don't get what you want in life. Okay, nobody does. Okay, you wouldn't be here if you did. What you get in life is what you desire. Desire means I don't have any other room for another desire in my heart. So only a person who has only one desire, and he is so determined to go out and get it, gets it. But you see a lot of people in the world saying, oh, I want this and I want that, and life goes by, they get nothing. Laws of nature, you see. You'd never get what you want. You only get what you desire with all your heart. So what we want to do in spirituality is to build a heart that will want spirituality so bad that we won't have any room in our heart for anything else. Only then you can get spirituality. Now, does that sound impossible? No. It's actually quite simple if you know how to do a circle. And this is why we're doing it, right? Because I can't have a desire for something on my own. It's just not big enough. But if I have friends that also want the same thing, we can motivate each other, we can push each other, we can kind of give it that extra oomph, that extra gas. I don't know what else to say. So this is why everybody's effort, so the individual's effort to see the rest of the participants, the desire to discover the Creator. If I try to see in all of the friends the desire to attain spirituality, the desire to get somewhere in spirituality, that will influence me emotionally. What that does is actually penetrate over time into your subconscious. And then you begin to act in that way. All right? And my own contribution to enhance it. So I want to see everybody's desire for the Creator, for spirituality in the circle. And I also want to give that extra push to enhance it even further. If I do that as well with everybody, then I should start to feel this lofty feeling. That's called the raspberry ball. We begin to feel that there's this energy between us that's giving us some kind of a sensation, some kind of a feeling about the things that we should be going through, and then we should begin to kind of make sense of them along the way. The relations among the participants become closer and more intimate, and a feeling that no problem is unsolvable in the circle is formed. That sensation between us should give us confidence in the circle if we get it right. And that's the whole idea. That was rule number 1. So seeing the love, I have to push myself. I have to make an effort to see the love in the friends, to see the desire of the friends for spiritual aspiration. So rule number 2, are we good with that rule? Yeah, if it's not clear, let me know. Let me know exactly on the rule so we don't go forward. If there's anything not clear, just stick your nose in there. Rule number 2, losing myself and finding the one desire. Another very important rule that I should be going through emotionally. Now, if I don't lose myself, I can't renew myself. If I'm always stuck in the same shirt. I'm always stuck in the same shirt. I've got nothing to expand on. So the only way for me to renew myself, to enhance and grow my emotions, to grow my understanding, everything about me, is only possible if I start to get rid of the old me and try to add things from the friends to me in order to create a new me. Does that make sense? Okay, this is what we do at school as well, right? I go to school today with everything I've learned and I've contributed to myself. At the end of the day, it's a new me. So at the end of every workshop, there should be a new me, which should be the outcome, the total result of the workshop. So losing myself and finding one desire means that losing myself doesn't mean I have to lose my mind and heart. No. Rather, it means I must direct my full attention to feeling the common mind and heart of the circle, which is what I spoke about here. Okay? Because every one of us has a dot in the heart. These dots in the heart, these are what we're connecting. And what happens is, as we advance in spirituality, we're all contributing. And as we all contribute with our workshop, the dots in the heart get connected. Remember, I always used to draw that picture, and I still do, where I say, oh, you know, we're all dots in the heart here and we want to connect. Remember that drawing? Yeah? How we all want to connect. Well, this is how we're going to do it. Okay? So everybody was asking, oh, Mutlu, how are we going to connect? Well, this is how we're going to do it. It's a workshop to connect. Okay? That way, what I'm doing is constantly directing myself, my full attention, to feeling the common mind and heart of the circle. How can I do that? Do you guys sometimes notice inside of you there's somebody always talking? Yeah? Okay, there should be. Okay? Right? There should be somebody always inside your head talking. Oh, what am I going to do this? And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this and that. Oh no, what should I have now for dinner? I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Okay? So somebody's always talking in your head. That's you. Okay? Now, this is the tricky stuff. It's really good, actually. This is such a good personal analysis on yourself. If I want to get the feeling of the group, right, what do I have to do? I have to shut him down or her down. Okay? Because in me, there's always a whinging pom, as they say. All right? There's always somebody whinging in me. And if I shut it down, if I silence it, if I just quiet it down and open up my ears to listen to the friends, then what I'm actually doing is something very special. My vessel was full of me talking to myself. And what I've done now, by suppressing it, it's like putting a piston inside it, right? And there's a little hole here, let's say. And I've flushed out everything and I've made it empty. And now whatever the friends tell me, whatever they say, I can take into myself. And all the things that I press down with the piston are at the bottom here. And when they add things into my vessel, then I become a whole new me with everybody's contribution. So how do I listen to people? How do I listen to friends? How do I make an effort to see the desire in the friends? It's by making that silly me inside shut up. I just shut it down. In time, you'll get used to it. It's very interesting because it just pops up and starts talking to yourself. But it's very interesting over time when you get used to these workshops, you begin to shut yourself up, and then the friends, they talk and they begin to absorb what they're saying, And then you become, all of a sudden you begin to feel this transformation happening inside of you because you added something new from the outside. Now dig this even better. All right? This is real magic stuff. Okay, although Kabbalah is nothing to do with magic and mystics, but this is real magical stuff here, because the whole of creation is governed by, guess who? Yes, you guessed it. It's the Creator. All right? And He's behind every friend that's talking and doing. By actually expressing myself down, I'm quietening my ego. I'm putting my ego out of the way. Inside my emotions, I'm making room for the Creator to fill it up. So the Creator is behind every friend, is actually filling me up. Sometimes people say, Marty, Mutlu, why is the light such a mystical thing? I don't get what the light is. Well, this is the light working, you see. It's working through the outside, because outside of us, there is only the Creator. Remember the perception of reality? This is 1 plus 1, okay? And the Creator is just filling us up. So wouldn't it be great to listen to everybody? By quietening my ego, I make room for the Creator to work on me. Because outside of myself, there is only the Creator. There is nobody else. My friends are all in my mind. They're all a reflection of what's in me. But now, by quietening my ego, I've given the light an opportunity, a room to work in me. And that's how He can fill me up. And that's how I can go through spiritual changes. That's called losing myself. Okay, I'm not losing my heart and my mind, or I'm not going nuts. I'm just quietening myself down and letting everything just flow in. My efforts to move in sync with the rest of the wheels allow me to maintain myself on the one hand, yet feel my friends circling along with me and their role in the system on the other hand. There you go. Each of them has a role. So they surround me, and from their role, I begin to complete myself. It's like falling in love with someone, right? Anybody has a second apple half here? Anybody has a second half? We're all losers here? We could be. Okay, not a problem. What happens is, when two people complete each other, the reason they do that is because they allow the other person to come in. Okay? They don't put any barriers in front of them. They allow the other person to be involved in their life. And because they've got no barriers, it's like two people connecting and becoming one. Now imagine that the same way in the group. However, we don't see the Creator. That's the only difference. But according to perception of reality, okay, everything I see on the outside is a tool for me to connect with the Creator. So what the friends do is, if I bring my barriers down, if I bring all the walls down, and I want to bring them into my feelings and sensations, I want to take in what they're saying, I'm actually connecting with them, and actually through them, to be precise, I am connecting with the Creator. Does that make sense? It's just like love in our world. It's no different, because think about it. At the end of the day, what do we say about spirituality? Spirituality is about connection and connecting with the Creator. The Creator is the attribute of love, and its action is bestowal. This is why we fall in love in this world as well. all right? Where you can just let your barriers down and just kind of be in this buzz. On the one hand, you're in this emotional, state. On the other hand, you have this understanding that this is a great thing. So two things, the mind and the emotion, the heart and the mind working together. Same principle. This is why it's not airy-fairy. A workshop is an amazing key to solve any issue. You can in fact use this at the office as well. It's because you can solve any problem with this. All right, so that's losing myself. Just don't tell the guys at the office, we're going to have a chat now and you have to lose yourselves and see the love. Okay, because they'll look at you like you're weird. Rule number 3. Everyone but me is perfect. Now, this is a special approach. Why we have this approach is for the same reason as I mentioned here. For me to bring my barriers down, I have to see the others great. For me to take somebody in, to be absorbed in myself with others, I have to see them as great. So I have to make sure that in my eyes, the friends are great. Just like I'm in love with somebody. They're so precious for me that I love them so much. I'm over the moon, okay, that I don't have any barriers. So I see them as great. During the workshop, I must regard myself as the last participant who needs to add one's own part to what is already perfect. So the whole environment is already perfect, and I'm going to add my perfection from my end to it as well and make it even more perfect. Once I have heard all the views in the circle, I must exert to agree with them, even when they sound unreasonable or even stupid. Sometimes when you love somebody, they might say something really silly, but you don't care because you love them. All right? They can say it. They can get away with it. Right? Sometimes our kids can get away with murder. Why? Because we love them. Right? Same thing here. I need to agree with the fact that if I want to absorb something from the others, I've got to bring all my opposition, all my barriers down. I have to be like neutral. I have to accept them as they are. Why? Because I've decided once and for all that these are my friends. That's a decision we all have to make. If we have a common goal, I have to understand that these are the friends that I'm going to walk on the path with. So I have to make that effort. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. If I can belittle myself compared to the friends, despite my reasons claim that I'm much smarter than they are, and far more experienced and correct than them, if I do all that, then I contribute to the building of the center of the circle. This is why we never disparage or argue, but only try to complement one another in order to discover amongst us that raspberry ball while forming a singular group opinion. This is also very important. Just like with people who love each other, what do? They complete each other. This is why they're half of an apple. You bring two of them together, they complete each other. Same in the group. All of the friends must not see the other person. We mustn't see the other person as lacking or imperfect. Otherwise, that just spoils the whole thing. I need to realize that my friends have special abilities, that only they can do things that I can't do. But then I can do things they can't do. So when we get together, we make a team. It's like a football team or a soccer team. The whole team works together, they can win the game. Same with us. But I need to respect everyone. It's not just the person who scores the goals. Sometimes in teams, it's all about the person scoring the goal. Okay? But there's also a goalkeeper back there. He's making sure that the other team doesn't score. So the whole team works together, and we need to make sure that we're in that understanding. All of my friends have a certain ability which I don't have. They can all do something which I am not capable of doing. But then I can do something they cannot do. And when we all get together, we can do anything. All right, that makes sense? Right? Yes.
Claire gave us the thumbs up.
Okay, so
We must have been perfect. It made perfect sense.
okay,
at that point.
that's good. But if there isn't, please ask. These are important stuff. But as you can see, it's all common sense. There is nothing airy-fairy. Last week we went over these, and I said the titles are a bit airy-fairy, but when you get in here and you start working, you begin to understand that this is talking so much about the inner feelings and the emotions that we just go through, and then it all just sinks in. Right, then they are the brain, and I am their hands and legs. Anybody has ever been on an apprentice program? Has anybody been an apprentice somewhere? No? Okay. Well, I was an apprentice at a motorcycle workshop once, because I wanted to learn how to fix motorcycles. So this is what the guy said to me. Listen, he said, do you know anything about motorcycles? I said, not a lot. I just know how to ride them. He said, in that case, this is how we're going to do it. He said, I'm going to think, and I'm going to tell you what to do, and you are only going to do what I tell you to do. If I tell you can use that, you can only use that tool and nothing else. I say, and you do. And that was actually good, because then I didn't get, I didn't injure myself, or I didn't cause any harm, and I didn't break any motorcycles. It was good, because he knew what he was talking about. So also in our spiritual work, we need to understand that, well, we're not spiritual yet. So we don't know what spirituality is. The way things are going when we get into this workshop, we're already, not even grasping how perception of reality works, how everything works. It's all a big blur. It's like this big fog in front of us. However, though, if I take it as theory, as an assumption, right, that all of my friends are inside this network called this reality, which is operated by a system called the Creator. And if we're all acting according to the laws and the programs and the rules of this network, then I can consider all of them in an assumption that they are perfect. And because my life isn't perfect, it's only obvious to me that I am not perfect. But by using them, I can add and make my life perfect. Does that make sense as well? Yes? Now, because Kabbalah is a science, on most of the things we're working on an assumption until it becomes reality inside of us. But this is how it's like in normal reality as well. Just like in the apprenticeship workshop I said. I don't know how to fix a motorcycle. It's just an assumption that I can do this and that. But by actually using the mind of someone who does know, I can go through the process, and by doing that, I will actually attain his mind. I will actually attain how he's thinking, how he's doing things. And by attaining things from his mind, I just have to, well, how am I going to attain his mind? I'm going to do things. By simply doing, I can attain the mind of the other person. So if I take the group, the whole group, as a concept and mind, and I use their mind to apply my spiritual work, then I can attain the mind of the group. It's like having 7 other brains in you, like in this here. Like here in this example, there's 7 of us, right? So imagine having 7 people's minds and opinions inside of you. It's better than having 1 brain, that's for sure. 7 So that's what that's talking about. They're the brain, I'm their hands and legs. It means that I'm listening to them, trying to connect with them, and I'm trying to add them to my mind and to my feelings. So the total of the group, the whole sum of the group, can actually be inside me. In this case, it'll be inside all of us. That's called taking us all to a new level. Then rule number 5, seeking a solution in the next degree. Right then. Now, if I could solve my life's problems on my own, and if I had a solution for everything on my own, I wouldn't need anyone on the planet. However, life doesn't work that way. We need the minds of other people. This is why we go to a doctor, we go to a lawyer, we go to an accountant, we go to a mechanic. Why? Because we can't do everything on ourselves. In order for us to go to a next level as well, to bring ourselves to a new spiritual elevation, this is what we need to build. Because when we go into a workshop, it's just me. Who's with us today? Give me a name here.
All right, so we got Muhammad.
So this is Muhammad. All right, so this is Muhammad. All right, so when Muhammad came to the circle without anything, it was just Muhammad. All right, let's delete this 7 here. It was just Muhammad. Now though, when we finish the circle, okay, with Muhammad attaining the total mind of the group, he's now Muhammad on the 2nd degree. That's how you build a new level. By the total sum of everyone's contribution to our next level. This is how kids grow up as well. How do kids grow up? They watch us and they listen to us. And this is how they learn. They're actually getting our mind into their mind by copying us, by playing the games. This is exactly how they learn. Same in the group. This is the only way we can grow. Okay, otherwise I just get stuck in my mind. Getting stuck in my mind is getting stuck in my own vessel. And then it's like there's nowhere to go. You're like you're like in a cage. The only way to break out of the cage is to add the others onto you. Is that rule number 5? Yes. Rule number 6, aiming for the center of the circle. Now the circle is our common space. Okay, so what we have here is only after a circle has formed a sense of common space, we have to come to that feeling. When we complete a circle, we must come to some kind of a common sensation. We don't know if it's common or not, because we can't know what the other people are feeling. But inside of us, we should have this feeling which nests inside of us rather well. It should give us a nice positive feeling. Okay? It should give us a nice, when I say nice positive feeling, a feeling that we're progressing, and it feels in our understanding, it feels right as well. So the feeling is accompanied by an understanding that we're in a kind of correct kind of, moving forward in a nice way. And that we're moving forward. We should have that kind of a sensation. It should be a nice warm feeling. Okay, so where we do not feel ourselves but only the connection with the others, this is very critical. Here I'm actually getting to that feeling because of the connection between us and not because of me. Same thing in love. Okay, when I'm on my own, I'm not feeling that same vibe, but when I'm with that person, what's happening is because there's the person I love and there is me, and when we're together, what we feel is not actually what's felt inside of us. What we feel is somewhere in between here. We can never feel the other person that we love like in us. It's a fuzzy feeling between two people. It's in between us. Do you know what I mean? Is that, when we love someone, it's the same thing. Love can never be inside one person or the other. It can only be when there's a connection. Then you can feel love. Then you can say, oh, we love each other. Why? Because of the special feeling you get in between those two people. So as we progress in this way, the bonding with the others begins to feel alive, something from which concepts such as annulment, listening, bonding, and creator suddenly become clear. This is not going to happen on the first workshop, obviously. It takes time. It takes time. Building connection takes time, but it's giving us the phases that we should be going through. Any questions there?
Yes. A lot of these I was somewhat saving till we're at the end, I guess. So you want to go ahead and... Okay, so one thing is Abdul and Emmanuel also both commented in regards to the last lesson. Abdul says, I've always enjoyed the benefit of going over the last lesson on YouTube, but it seemed like it was not made available. Also, Emmanuel says, why was the recording of the last lesson not released?
Oh, so, that's a good question. Maybe check Judith and Mario for that. Okay, that's good. We'll check that out. Sorry, I didn't know about that. We will check that out. Okay.
All right.
But you guys keep checking YouTube as well. All right, keep going into YouTube, check it out, see what's going on.
And it's also a very good thing to go back and review lessons over and over. I do it every day. It's amazing. Also, Judith says, yes, could you please explain how to understand the Zohar and if we can also learn the most important texts together, like the introduction? Now, that came from another question from Muhammad, came after, who says, in our future study group, what we are going to study, Zohar, or what specific books, and would be a teacher who run the lesson, and who would be the teacher who runs the group in the lesson?
Okay, well, first of all, when we get into our groups, we have many studies. We have many study times, okay? We'll talk about them as we go along. We have the daily lessons, which are in the morning. We have you're lucky actually, because you're in our same time zone, right? Lebanon and Israel, same time zone. So if you're interested, you could wake up with us early in the morning and watch the lesson at 2:45 a.m. every day. Okay? We like to rise early. Early starters, early getters, as we call them. Okay, so early birds gets the worm. And that's how it is. Okay? But also in the evenings we have Zohar lessons as well. So there are a few ways we study. But all you have to do is, when you come into the group, you can choose how you want to study. Okay, there's no pressure, there's no coercion. We don't tell people, how much they should study, what they should study, how they should do things. You'll get to know how we study, and you'll try to figure out how you can stick your head in according to how you like it. Zohar is one of the books that we do study. There's a lesson during the week, 3-4 times a week, Zohar in the evening, and there are also other books that we study as well.
Okay, and the last question comes from Alex. Alex says, last lesson I thought that you kind of mocked meditation. I'm a regular meditator and it didn't feel right. Can you explain what you meant?
Well, meditation in the Oxford English Dictionary, I don't mock it, but we got to get right on the terms. Meditation means, in the Oxford English Dictionary, if you check it out, it means to be in deep thought. Okay, so when a person is contemplating something at a deeper level, thinking about something, now that's great, okay, because we'd like to use our mind in Kabbalah to kind of make sense of the feelings that we go through. Now, the general meditation that sometimes people talk about is, like crossing your legs and focusing on breathing and so on. That meditation, it was not what I'm talking about. So I kind of differentiated them. And the reason I differentiated them because I mentioned how many times people think in a year, in their lives. So what we want to do in Kabbalah is to make sure that we're always thinking, so we develop this thought process. And the reason we want to think a lot, actually, is because if you want to get to a specific goal in life, you have to think about how to get there. And because our goal is constantly in front of us, what we want to do is use the mind of the group and also our mind to create in our emotions and our intellectual faculty a place called the center of the group, which is the total sum of our emotions and intellect together, which will develop our next level.
Alex says thank you. And Gary is asking, is there any benefit spiritually to physically being in the land of Israel?
No, trust me, if the group wasn't here, we wouldn't be here. Wouldn't it be great if the Rav moved to the Caribbean or something? It would be lovely.
Texas, maybe.
Yeah. Texas, I don't think so. Yeah. Caribbean, maybe. All right, but no, there isn't, because you can attain spirituality anywhere. And there were great Kabbalists, actually, in Russia, in Eastern Europe, in Europe as well, in Poland. So being geographically in a place doesn't affect your spirituality. What does affect your spirituality, however, is the influence of the environment. That's called the real impact on spiritual development. Because if I'm influenced by an environment, that's, I don't know, chasing God knows what, then my mind and my thought is going to be on that. Okay, it's not going to be on spirituality, is it? But if I'm surrounded by friends, we're always talking about spirituality. Let's get spiritual, and we're all talking about spirituality and everything. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should get spiritual. It sounds great. Why? Because they're influencing me. Friends influence each other, and this is why the workshop is very important. Because over time, we do spirituality, we work on spirituality, we talk about spirituality. What happens is all the junk that I received from my childhood and my developing years, called my subconscious, begins to get washed with this idea of spirituality rather than junk. So this is our conscious mind. Okay, conscious mind. And we're going to use our conscious mind with our 5 senses, all right, in order to clean up this junkyard. Because this is actually, because of this subconscious level, we do a lot of things in life automatically. If you review your days, right, at the end of the day, you come home and you think about everything you did today, you'll realize that most of the stuff you did was just on autopilot. You get up, you go, you eat, you drink, everything. It's like a robot working. Why? Because the subconscious mind, since our childhood, is like, in fact, till the age of 3, okay, it's kind of pretty much planned and programmed. Okay, so what we have to do is you have to wash it. Literally. Let's call it brainwash it. Yeah. Okay? We want to brainwash it. We want to brainwash it with spirituality. And then what happens is what happens is really interesting, because habit becomes a second nature all of a sudden. Right? Because you get so used to treating the friends now in a different way, all of a sudden you automatically begin to change your behavior and action. Instead of being egoist, it becomes like an altruistic behavior, because you got used to it in the group. And because you got used to it, your nature started changing, and all of a sudden what you start to feel is the laws of nature from the side of the Creator. And that's called bestowal. And that's really an amazing thing. That's why second nature, it's just through habit. We're constantly washing that, washing our subconscious mind. And all of a sudden we begin to act in bestowal, and then you start to gain this equivalence of form with laws of nature, and that's when you feel spirituality. And then you can say, oh my God, that attribute is called the Creator. It's really weird, but it works. All right, so we are about 7 minutes over time. I would love to spend the rest of the evening with you, but I have to get up in a few hours and join the morning lesson, because it's a very exciting lesson tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Pesach celebrations, what they mean in our spirituality. What does it mean to be in Egypt? What does it mean to be controlled by the Pharaoh? So that's going to be a really interesting lesson tomorrow morning, and we don't want to miss that now, do we? So you guys have a great evening. Next Tuesday we'll all be carrying on. We'll have our own workshop next Tuesday. Lesson number 5, we're going to eat together. Do not forget. So don't go out and get yourself Macca's or something and eat your heart out with junk food. And just stay with us. We'll eat together, and we'll see. We're also going to learn what it means to eat together. Okay, so it's going to be like a preparation on how we eat together with the friends. Anything else you want to add?
I think we are all good. I just want to say to everyone, I hope you all have a great night, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Oh, wait. You were saying so we should prepare the food?
That's right, yeah. So dinner, we're going to have dinner together on the 5th lesson. Okay? On the 5th lesson. This was our 2nd lesson. On the 5th lesson, we're going to have a meal together, and we'll do a workshop during the meal together, and we'll find out what it means to eat together, because Kabbalists eat and drink a lot together. Okay?
That'll be the 27th of this month.
The 27th of the month. There you go. Mm-hmm. Because Kabbalists love to eat and drink together, and there's a special reason behind it. We'll know what that is. We'll learn what that is. Inside the group, it's very important to know how we dine and eat and why we do things. All right? Okay, then all the best. Have a great evening. See you guys next week. Bye now.